GNZ-TV present.
Let's go.
Frank Leboeuf still with us. What do you think of this back and forth with Cristiano
Well, but did
Ronaldo
Erik
and
Ten Hag,
Ten Hag?
has he said that? I don't know if he has. I don't know. I have no idea. Look, I don't think anybody thinks they're in a position to challenge for the Premier League, not least the Champions League. Not even close. What we have here is a former player who was out of favour, wasn't playing well, and was basically surplus to requirements for that manager. And I think he's quite happy to go on with another ex-United player and have a dig. Look, most of the guys here have been pretty hard on Ten Hag with some of the things he said and done. But I don't mind the way he handled that, really. He just sort of batted it away, swatted it away for what it was worth. And as I say, Ronaldo was at United. He was playing poorly. He was a bit of a problem in the end. He was on a lot of money. Nobody else, and I think it was Stevie touched on this the other day, nobody else really wanted to touch him. And certainly not in the wages he was on in Europe in terms of the big teams. Had a poor Euros, and he's playing in Saudi Arabia. And so I don't really see it. And it's a bit like Ten Hag. He brushed that off because he's got a million other things to worry about than a former player who's playing in a backwater somewhere, jibing away about Man United. That's nothing new.
But to that point, and I think while you still have the history, Ronaldo's trying to make the point that winning is a mentality that clearly has been a little bit lost at Manchester United of late. And of course, Ronaldo was critical of Ten Hag, given their history, but I mean, that was lost some time ago. The truth is, United are nowhere near being able to compete, let alone win serious silverware. And while, yes, as Ten Hag, I'm sure, would point out, they've won 2 cups, particularly the FA Cup kind of came almost as a surprise. But this is a United that is still trying to find its way since Alex Ferguson, and they're nowhere closer. To that point, and I continue to grow less and less convinced by Ten Hag. And even in addressing Ronaldo's criticism, it's the same old, this is a process, and we're going through things, and we're building for the future. But over the last 2 years, there's been little evidence of that. I can't tell you what United have done in terms of building towards that future, while trying to win football games, a majority of football games, at the same time. So I'm with Ronaldo in the criticism, but at the same time, I just don't see the direction that Ten Hag is trying to take this club.
Yeah, and speaking with what Ten Hag had to say, Frank, you hear him say, obviously, it's a transition, but then he says no excuses. So what's it to be?
I don't really know. It's hard to say. As he tried to tell us, it will take a time and maybe a learning process of being winners in order to say one day we can win the Premier League. About that, I just want to say that I understand Cristiano. Cristiano's just say, maybe you know you cannot win, but don't say it. That's what it is. We all know the history behind, between those two guys. But I think Cristiano is right. When you are Manchester United, you don't have to say we're going to win the Premier League, but please don't say you're not going to win it. Because that's the standard of the club. You never know what can happen. The fans don't want to hear that. They want to hear that, as I think it's Craig's mentioned, that you have to have a mentality, winning mentality. And saying that is already making a statement that, no, we can do it. We are losers or we are runner-ups. But not saying it opens maybe some hopes and therefore, yeah, you don't have to say you won the Premier League, but maybe you give a chance to chance. I love that tagline there. Ten Hag fires back at Ronaldo. If that's firing back, I've been hit harder with a feather duster. Honestly, if that's firing back, I don't know. Well, it was very meek, wasn't it? Look, listen, I'll pick on the United manager and others for what they do and what they say, really, more around the football. This is international break, player spouting off. I don't want to say it again, but it's a disgruntled player who's sort of coming towards the end of his career. And I get it, it's a winning mentality at Man United, but that was the old Man United. This is a big cliff they've fallen off.
big cliff. And I think nobody within their right mind at the moment would look at it and say, I mean, most of the people on here have got them at the very, very best. They're going to struggle to try and compete for the top 4. And that's a good season for them, really good. So, you know, as I say, Ten Hag's got much more to worry about than Ronaldo spouting off.
Well, he's got Southampton to worry about this weekend on Saturday.
Yeah,
However,
he can't afford to lose.
Yeah, well, Southampton have lost 3 on the trot. Manchester United just 1 behind them in terms of losses, which is why they are in their respective positions in the table. Manchester United in 14th with just 3 points after 3 games. Southampton with no points after those 3 games. And as you said, Craig, United can't afford to lose this.
No, they've got a couple of games that are... I can't remember who the next one is. It might be Crystal Palace or... So a team that are one of the teams that are struggling, but he's got to get this one out of the way first. I mean, if you come off the international break, off the pasting by, it was the last game Liverpool, I think it was.
Liverpool 3-0.
Yeah, just pretty much a non-event really. For Liverpool, it was a cakewalk. You come off that and you lose to Southampton. I mean, the knives are already starting to come back.
You're right about it being Palace after that as well.
Sorry?
You're right that it is Palace after that.
Away.
Away as well, yeah.
Who went to Chelsea recently and got a good result. Have had a tough start to the season. But that's a tougher game than Southampton on paper. But this sort of goodwill from the FA Cup win, which was a surprise, took him into the summer, sort of saved his job, even though United were looking elsewhere. You know, convinced everybody that he would try to convince everybody he was still the man. There's not a lot of convincing has happened in the first three or 4 games of the season. So he's already back on the clock, I think. Now, defeat here, you know, if he's picking up 1 point out of the next 6 against these 2 teams, and then I think he goes into a cup game, he's bang in trouble again. Because you're expected to go to a newly promoted side like Southampton and roll them over, even as bad as United are. So this is a huge game for him, a huge 2 games. Loses both, and I really don't see how Ineos and all these new people that have come in, Dan Ashford, Jason Wilcox, Sir Dave Brailsford, you know, Jim Ratcliffe with the money, I don't know how they can sit back if he loses the next 2 games. They could be actually in the bottom 3. There's no way, I don't see how he can survive that. I really don't. So that's how tight it's going to be for him.
I'll go further. You cannot lose to Southampton. You can't.
Do you think he goes if he loses to Southampton?
I think he has to. At best, you lose to Southampton, you kind of limp along to the next international window. And I say at best because I'm just kind of assuming that Ineos and all the powers that be haven't really figured out who the next manager is yet. But it gives them, 3 weeks to mid-October to figure that out. That is absolutely at best. And that is only if Manchester United, as we speak, have no idea who they'd like to succeed Ten Hag if they were to replace him sooner rather than later.
Why did you bring up the next international window? I've only just got out of this one. I
know you're looking forward to it.
I know
you're counting down the days.
Crossing the days off on the calendar.
News for you. I've got news for you. I'm going away.
Ineos know that. Ineos know that, so they know Craig's going to be away, so this is the perfect time.
1 step ahead of us. Go ahead, Frank.
Yeah, I just want to add that it's not even a defeat that could risk Ten Hag's positioning. I think even drawing away from home against Southampton, who lost the 3 first games, could put him in danger. If he draws the 2 next game, that's not Manchester United, positioning that that you could find. They could be in the last 3, drawing the 2 last game, which is not the standard of what Manchester United. And I'm not talking about the past Manchester United, even the nowadays Manchester United should do. So they have to win. First at Southampton for sure. They have to win. They have to get a 3 points. Maybe a draw against Crystal Palace will be enough. 4 points in 2 games. That's not too bad, but. A draw against Southampton, a draw against Crystal Palace could be the end of Mr. Ten Hag.